Must be ready for nuclear war with Russia if Putin's army collapses, warns ex-NATO chief Richard Sheriff. It says the world must be ready for nuclear conflict with Vlad if his army collapses. And that was according to an ex-NATO chief who warned this. We're going to talk about this and so much more. General Sir Richard Sheriff urged the West to keep up the pressure on the tyrant as his invasion of UKR loses momentum. There are tons and tons of people saying because he is losing this momentum that even ups the ante as far as everything that is going on. Again, my name is Adam, a.k.a. Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Today, every single article, tweet, video, picture, document that we show you here today, including this one, will be on our website over on marfooglenews.com. I'll show you that in just a second. He suspects the bloodthirsty nation's army is heading for a total collapse in what could be Russia's biggest military disaster for 100 years. Sir Richard, who served as Deputy Supreme Allied Commander for Europe for the Alliance, said that UKR forces could have successfully driven back Vlad's forces by the end of 2022. But after Vlad unleashed a barrage of missiles on UKR in retaliation for the destroying of his prize bridge in Crimea, it has stoked fears about the lengths Mad Vlad may go to. Of course, they add in the Mad Vlad part. Sir Richard warned the danger, including the threat of nuclear weapons, has by no means gone away despite Vlad's recent retreats. Retreats or evacuations, depending on who's arguing here. This is another huge name saying it. We have much more in today's show that we're going to go over, and we're going to cover all of it in just a second. We'll be right back. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. The Marfoogle News and the Marfoogle. I got the Marfoogle News and the Marfoogle. I got the Marfoogle News and the only news I choose. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, a.k.a. Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Just to catch you up, if you are new, we're going to cover a ton of stories in a short amount of time. You can go over to marfooglenews.com to get notifications and join our email list. On top of that, of course, if anything were to ever happen to us, you would get notified through that system. If there was ever a big event that we absolutely 100% knew about in advance, we would let you know through that system as well. If you go to our website, it's very easy to navigate. It is all done by thumbnail. You will look for today's thumbnail, what is happening here, of course, showing G's police in New York. We'll talk about that here in a minute. Are we seeing Dragon Day in slow motion? Once you click on that thumb, it will bring you to every single article, tweet, video, picture, document, so then you have access to our sources and you know exactly where they come from. That way you can verify it or use your own biases to discuss whether you think it's true or not. Again, that's up to you. At the very bottom, there's overflow. All of the stuff that cannot fit into a 2-hour show will go there. That yellow bar basically has the super sensitive stuff or the stuff that we could not fit into a 2-hour time period. And some of the more, I guess the stuff that some people consider boring. I see a lot of stuff down there that is actually pretty exciting as far as tech and everything else. Now, let's bring in my co-host/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I am doing just fine.
Remember, you can also go over to marfooglenews.com/friends. If we ever mention any channels, this is kind of a guide key that has all of our friends and network of channels that basically we believe in. We think on and off camera are genuine people. Again, these are just friends of ours that also are creators, so make sure to check them out. All right, getting back right into the news, obviously Sir Richard, what was that? Sir Richard Sheriff, stating that. Dex, did you have an opinion on that? Of course, we have a lot of big folks talking about nuclear conflict. Is this all to scare us or what?
Well, certainly these big names like to come out, and this one being the ex-NATO chief. So, some semblance of, previous authority and position. So we're going to keep hearing it. I think if nothing else, that's the message they want out right now, because they're putting it out, right? We get it from both sides. And that sounds like it's definitely the much stronger drums of conflict than we've heard in the past, right? So this is coming up to it's building up to a much bigger, potential event. So that's what's, I kind of sort of pay attention to why or what they're saying on both sides, but the frequency and the amount of rhetoric as it amplifies, it sort of does go hand in hand with what at least their intentions are. I just, at some point we're gonna find out if they're willing to cross the line. I mean, either side for that matter.
And that's what is kind of up in the air right now. And I believe it's pronounced Sharif. I think that's how you would say that. Richard Sharif. And then, will first contact with ET spark a war among humans? This is what the MSM is talking about right now. It's nonstop. It says, in many movies, first contact between humans and aliens usually ends in conflict between the humans and aliens. But in the real world, first contact is way more likely to end in a conflict between humans and humans. It says that was the conclusion of a groundbreaking study published 2 years ago, which helped launch an intensifying debate between two scientific camps. The first camp is pessimistic and worries that first contact would have dire political consequences on Earth. The other, more optimistic groups insist that humanity could meet aliens for the first time and not go crazy over it. I want to point out that a lot of this alien stuff happened slightly right after Oumuamua. Now, before, if you're new to the show and you're like, oh, aliens are cuckoo, first of all, you have to understand that Congress are talking about aliens now. Government officials are talking about it. There are entire task force that have now been forged. And then you, of course, have Space Force that was also made during the last presidency. Space Force, of course, came out of nowhere, and everybody was like, what? A new branch of military devoted to space? And this was right around the time that Oumuamua came by. And as far as respected people saying that, Oumuamua may have been a UFO, you have some of the most respected. You had, of course, Mr. Loeb, one of the, I want to say, Dex, is it a Harvard? Isn't he a Harvard professor? Is it Harvard or somewhere else?
Avi Loeb, yes.
Avi Loeb
Harvard.
And his constituent, which both have done extensive work in that field as far as asteroids and space and things like that. And he said that he believed, and he put out an actual good logic behind why it may have been an alien ship. The speed that it came in. If you follow what happened with the Oumuamua, which at the time was the first interstellar object ever to come into our universe. It was something that, or our solar system, I should say, it came in and it went multiple different speeds. So as far as scientifically, it did things that were absolutely just tremendously weird. It slowed down, it sped up, and they weren't gravitational speeds. It wasn't something where something basically kind of, I guess, what do you call that? A slingshot kind of maneuver type thing where something's gravitational pull flung it. It did these weird speed ups and slowdowns, and then it actually passed by relatively close to Earth and then sped out at a faster rate than it came in. It was really, really, really weird. It was incredibly fast, and they only had 11 days to monitor it. When that happened, it was also the oddest shape asteroid / object that they have ever seen, because it was 10 times as long as it was wide. The most they have ever seen before that was 3 times the length as it is wide. So basically an egg, right? Well, this thing was a cigar, and it was super, super long. So with that whole thing, it's like all of a sudden it's come up. I'm open to the idea of, is something going on? Did that actually trigger world governments to start asking questions and start talking about it? What we see in public being talked about, Congress and everything else, is that a result from something that is not in the public as far as information that's being withheld? Obviously, there's all these released videos and the Tic Tac videos, not TikTok, the Tic Tac videos of these UFOs flying and, basically going against any kind of science that we have here on Earth. So this is something that basically talks about the theory. It says it's a purely theoretical debate. There's a practical and potentially very serious purpose behind the academic back and forth to begin preparing politicians for the possibility of first contact and try to get them to handle it like grown-ups. It says we really need to make sure that those of us in the field are prepared for success and that policymakers, government officials understand how the search for extraterrestrial intelligence works and what has really been found, Jason Wright, a Penn State astronomer, told the Daily Beast. It says part of the urgency is fueled by the fact that there's a growing consensus in the scientific community that aliens are out there somewhere and first contact will happen eventually. I kind of see this thing in my head where all of the politicians are arguing and everybody says, well, we should, just fire at them first, or we should be peaceful, and they end up firing at the damn things and then they attack like in so many movies. It says it's basic math. There's 100,000 million stars in just our galaxy and potentially hundreds of thousands of millions of planets in our solar system alone. There are several planets and moons besides Earth that have water and could, in theory, support life. We've already discovered thousands of exoplanets in the Milky Way, many of which show early signs that they could potentially support life with better instruments. We're poised to find thousands upon thousands more new worlds in our galaxy, and the odds are that there's at least one is home to intelligent life is no longer far-fetched. So they're basically saying that the majority of the scientific community is now kind of on board for this. If you said this, if Harvey Loeb, Ari Loeb, if Avi Loeb and his constituents said this about 15 years prior, they would probably be fired. They would probably say, hey, we just don't match up right now. Your style just doesn't kind of vibe with Harvard. But now it's actually being pushed. So what the heck is going on? Let me know in the comments down below, which, by the way, thank you, Bound by Mountains, for popping in before the show really even started, looks like. It says, is North Carolina bound? Thank you, Adam Dex, and all of the mods. Longtime follower. Dream as if you will live forever. Live as if you will die today. Maintain 100% situational awareness. I agree with that. Bound by Mountains, nice to see you. Texas Earth Watcher, thank you for your support. And then Survival Living, it is nice to see you, man. And I was just thinking about you yesterday, how we haven't seen you in a while. Thank you so much. Gravy, thank you for subscribing. And if you guys haven't checked out Survival Living, he does great videos. He is rapidly growing. He's a very busy guy, so I don't blame you for not stopping by. Make sure to go check out his channel. All right, and then Dex, do you want to go over outraged President B? And we're going to get into some of the more crazy stuff here pretty quick. So if you are easily anxious, you'll probably want to stick around for the next two and then bounce out. Go ahead, Dex.
Certainly. So this is, again, the follow-up, I guess, from our administration, or their continued follow-up from our administration around OPEC and their raising of the prices or reducing the production, so to speak, of oil. And it seems like, from our administration's point of view, they're furious, which is easy to say. I don't know necessarily how much that is going to turn into some sort of pressure back other than just words. That's what the real question is. It seems like it's a lot of words right now, but not a lot of action. So I don't know, if we're going to actually see something. We saw a bunch of barrels released from our own, supply, but that's just short lived. We probably burned through those in a couple days. But this whole notion of, we help them, we support them, we do all these things for them. And, we've always had the ability to sort of, I don't say dictate, but at least sort of push in certain directions or ask for help when we want them to adjust prices up and down or production up and down. It doesn't seem like that's happening now. And, that we've lost that, whether it's we've lost the credibility or we lost the big stick that we sort of were able to wield in the past. That's pretty much how I take this notion right now. And, of course, our administration wants to do something about it, but we'll have to actually see what that means, if there's any substance behind the words of being furious.
Yeah, we'll see if they actually take action. And then we have GOP lawmakers demand explanation for deeply troubling Chinese police station in New York City. So hear me out on this. I understand that some of this, if you were brand new here, then you're like, what in the heck is this? Okay, so first of all, I have covered for 5 years. Dex has been with me almost 4. We have covered a whole lot of different things going on with that country. And right now, there are a lot of things just today that have happened on Twitter. Trending right now is the fact that people are getting their bank accounts canceled because their words, their political views. It seems that these police stations have popped up all over the world. And when I titled this, again, if you have not seen the movie Dragon Day, it may not be the most grade A, $40 billion budget movie, but the premise behind it is absolutely a scary one and actually quite a realistic one. And in that movie, they essentially show, this is all the way back from 2013. In the very beginning, it shows the U.S.'s debt to Xi's country. And it shows kind of this counter, and it's basically saying like the U.S. debt went up, and it shows it going into the trillions, and then it just keeps going up. And then it essentially shows us going into debt, everybody, and it shows actually several things in their talk. They have, disaster movie 101 as you started out with news broadcasts and people going, today there was a conflict in this zone, and today the Dow crashed and all that, and you hear that in the background. And it's actually kind of freaky because a lot of that stuff that was kind of said in the background on these radio stations are now stuff we're listening to now. And the basic premise is all of a sudden the lights go out, the power goes out, and cars stop, and some sort of EMP happen. People can't talk to each other. Communication gets broken down. And on top of an EMP, there was some sort of thing going on with the phones. And in the movie, they basically show these phones, all of the chips in the phones were made in a certain country. And somehow they put a back door in it. And in that movie, they show a CIA operative that is retired or fired, and he's the one who designed it as a simulation. Well, it turns out somebody took his simulation and used it for real, and he's actually the reason why all of this stuff is going on. The main point, though, is all of this stuff was manufactured over there. They put a back door, and they cut everything off. Everything goes dark. Communications are bad. And the freakiest part about this movie is the guy gets fired, him and his family, they have money, they go out to their cabin, and they're thinking about moving out to the country. They're basically out in the sticks, and they have a small town with a sheriff and, a few sheriffs. And essentially what happens in the movie is these sheriffs end up, after some explosions, you see a bunch of planes just crash right out of the sky. Nobody knows what's going on. There's no cell phone service. All of the newer cars are destroyed. People are looting and raiding things. It shows essentially the sheriff comes out and offers him, he's like, hey, you guys seem like a nice family. You got kids. I've been given a lot of these red bracelets, and I'm basically allowed to give them to the people that I want to. And I'm basically giving you a chance here. Here's some red bracelets. If you put them on, you'll be able to get rations, water, and you'll be able to move around. Of course, in the movie, the curfew is 3 p.m. If people with the bracelet went outside of their area after 3 p.m., then it would release something that would essentially take their lives, right? This all sounds very crazy. But we've actually seen in G's country just recently, about a week and a half ago, we covered that they are having biometric bracelets put on bus drivers, and these things not only track their heart rate, it can even track their mood, if they are in a happy or sad mood. I wish this was a sci-fi movie, but this is really what's going on over there. And that's on top of many other tracking bracelets that they've already worked on top of WeChat, the everything app. The same app that does the social credit score over there is what Elon wants to do with Twitter. And you think I'm kidding? He has actually said publicly he admires WeChat and thinks it's great. You can do anything and everything with it. Well, it also tracks everything and anything with it. So in this movie, basically Dragon Day, it shows them taking over from inside. And in the movie, they even clarify before a few weeks before all of this happened, we were given these bracelets. So basically, they knew it was coming. There were people in place from within. And I think that it should be okay to wonder about this, why there are these police stations going up all over the world. And honestly, you can look up. Dex, were you surprised to see how many of these police stations are popping up all over the place? And why?
Yes, it's been in multiple countries. I want to say we started somewhere in Ireland when we first were reporting on it, and then we worked our way to another location, and then we went to Canada, a couple of locations in Canada, and then we've got at least one, maybe more. And this is the thing, is people don't know that they're there, right? It's just that somebody has to figure it out, and then they say, aha, we found an office, and that's what these people here are doing. And, they set them up as if it's to help, their citizens in another country if they need paperwork or things like that. But in reality, what's happening is they're using that as to reach their arm into other countries to deal with issues specific to their citizens, especially ones that are not speaking correctly about their country.
And if you put the G police station in, and then you can go to pretty much any place. And there is a story from recently. It says they have opened overseas police stations in U.S. and Canada. Of course, you have in Europe. You have in many of the Baltic states. Stations in 30 countries. This is just October 1st, 2022. Okay? In just this, the beginning of the month, 11 days ago, 12 days ago, all of a sudden there's news that they're opening up these police stations. I am not saying that this is what is happening. I am saying it's kind of, I just don't understand how this is even possible. And right now, we asked this question weeks ago when this came out. I'm surprised that it took this long for GOP lawmakers to ask. The first kind of news went out that there was a station in New York. These are, Xi's country's police officers walking around New York. Like, this doesn't make a whole lot of sense unless they're doing something, unless they're monitoring or doing something that we wouldn't really approve of in this country that may be totally okay over there. So I think it should be a harmless question to ask. But I have a feeling that this is going to become quickly a very sensitive subject. Just wait for them to say that you can't say this kind of stuff. And that's really, really kind of an alarming thing. Once you see this and once you see all of the places, it's more than 30, and I believe now it's more than that. And every day there's been a new kind of story about this, and that is what is really freaky about this. So when I say, is this something in slow motion, would they set something up like this if some sort of deals were being done, beyond? I don't know. I really, I think that other people are actually worried about this. Is it something that we should even be worried about? I'll go over to the chat for a moment. Dex, they say that the media basically puts it like they're the good reason that they're doing it for, or the thing that should make you go, oh, okay, is that they're just tracking their own people, or they think, they're tracking dissenters from their country.
Well, that's not even the good reason. The good reason they're saying is, if they need help with documentation, like, instead of going to the embassy, we're here to help. Like if you need your documents or you need whatever, come see us. That's the front. Yeah, and it's much worse than that.
Why would we need these? Why do they have? I'm so confused. Why would they need that just to help people with documentation? Do you see how none of the stuff that they just kind of say, hey, here's the official story for, how it doesn't make sense? And then people will literally get booted off, and then 6 months later they'll say, oh yeah, that's what it was. But will they bring the people back when they covered or asked the questions? That's not what's been happening. So obviously there have been huge stories that different places kind of pushed down, and then later on said, oh yeah, those were not only absolutely true, but they're kind of the story of a lifetime, right? So I just wonder, and we're probably going to be, some of the few people on the internet that are going to be asking this question. We asked it on October 1st. We asked it on October 3rd when the next piece came out, when, the Netherlands and all these other places are getting these things. And they're all allied. It seems to me like they're all allied countries. I'll have to check if there's any of the other ones. 30. Huh. Hey, Dex, they said that there's 30 locations. How many members is in NATO? How many members are in NATO? Do you know? What's the total number of NATO states? Just curious. I feel like there's something oddly familiar about the number 30.
I think you got it.
Oh, there's 30 NATO states. Huh. Just to confirm, it says 30 locations. Yeah. The G Police opens in 30 countries to monitor. I'd be interested. I want to check if those 30 match up absolutely perfect with the NATO members. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. I'm just asking a question. I hope people are asking questions about everything. All right. So before we move on, Vlad protests over Japan's firing of HIMARS, which is kind of ironic. I do want to remind you, if you haven't already, make sure to go over and check out marfoogle.com/EMP. If you don't know what an EMP shield is, if there was a real kind of situation where any country, it doesn't have to be G or Vlad or anybody, if there was ever a CME, a coronal mass ejection just from our sun, a Carrington level event, then a device like this would keep your car running. Or if you're at work, 10 miles from home, you could get home to try to bug out or bug in. If you are, of course, if we are attacked with an EMP, which is one of the most likely out of the crazier scenarios to happen, then you would be able to protect your device with the same company that is actually helping agencies like DHS, DOD, and now they're officially on the DEMSO team helping protect the Texas grid. So essentially all of the United States in one way or another is working with EMP Shield to protect themselves. Here's the thing. Nobody's going to come save you. Nobody's going to protect your stuff. There's not going to be any government grants to go fix up your house so it's EMP or CME proof. That's going to be up to you. With this, you can protect yourself against all three phases of an EMP, and you can, of course, protect yourself from a guaranteed Carrington level event that's going to happen at some point. It's just a matter of if our technology has advanced to the point where it won't hurt us. Right now, we are extremely vulnerable to this kind of event. They say if the right kind of EMP or a super EMP went off in the middle of our country, 90% of our country would perish. Not because of an explosion, not because we would be taking each other out. It would be because it would damage the infrastructure that is critical to water. In fact, water, drinkable, potable water would be the end of us. So that's another kind of reminder, not only to, look at something like this, but also to have food and water. All right, and that's marfooglenews.com/EMP. Not only will you get a grandfathered in $50 off per device, you will also be able to stack that on top of whatever sales they're doing. We're coming into the holiday times and things. We're going to have Black Fridays and all sorts of different sales going. You can always stack this sale when you do our link on top of whatever sales they're doing. That's marfooglenews.com/EMP. You're helping a veteran-owned business, 100% American-made product, and you're helping an independent media channel at the same time. Thank you for your support. I really appreciate it. All right, and then Dex, do you want to talk about Vlad protesting over Japan?
I guess in the recent trials we've been doing, or drills, I should say, with the Japan, they've been testing the HIMARS, and as many, I don't know if many people, obviously Japan is closer to Vlad's country than a lot of other countries, but a lot of people don't know that the islands there actually get really close in certain areas. So he's protesting the fact that this testing is going on so close to his area or his territories. So that's and HIMARS is pretty important. It's a major a rocket system. It was used in lots of different places, like in UKR. It was pretty significant there. And I can see why he would be worried about it being so close to his border. But at the same time, this is a drill. Japan has that option to do it. They're doing it with us. And, I don't know why he, it doesn't really have much room to complain, but he has the right to, I guess. So that's what's going on. The other question I sort of look at is why are they worrying about putting HIMARS in Japan? I think we know the answer to that. And that's the tension that's building with Xi around Taiwan, and potentially the fact that, Vlad would probably be involved with that as it would come down, in addition to obviously NK and et cetera. So kind of interesting, statements there, but we'll watch and see how it plays out.
Yeah, and it did say that it, of course, protested to the embassy on Wednesday over joint Japan-U.S. military exercise this week, which said that the HIMARS rocket systems were fired close to their borders. It says we consider the military exercises that took place as far as a challenge to ensuring the security of far eastern region of our country, and insist on the immediate cessation of such actions. Yeah, so it seems like everybody is set up. It's like everything is set up for a world conflict, and it's going to get really hard for regular people to deny that this is happening pretty soon. I think that people are, it's subconsciously that we are all optimists and we don't want it to happen and it will never happen to us, but that's not really how preppers think. And this is the news and events from a prepper's viewpoint and a standpoint. Most of us agree. Actually, somebody commented and said, fear, fear, fear. I'm speaking for some of you, and I'm speaking for, I think, most of you. A ton of you are not afraid of this kind of stuff. First of all, most of you have been with me for like 5 years, and we have talked about this for 5 years, and we talked about it when there wasn't a conflict. Under the kind of, I guess, the viewpoint of these people that say fear equals money or whatever, what they're saying is that we have to be going through a conflict for people like us to be successful. We have grown when we're covering, electric cars or drones or, angel stories, or Bigfoot stories. We've covered all sorts of stuff. And the same amount of viewers watch every night, no matter what we cover. During that would be saying that we wouldn't be successful for basically the 4 years before there was this huge conflict. First of all, I think that we are not skipping steps. A lot of people are not afraid of this. They are situationally aware. And for those that aren't, this can be a huge kind of burden on them. This is stressful. This causes panic. That's why I tell people, tune out. If you don't like scary movies, then don't watch scary movies. That's why I don't get people that come in and say these kind of things. It's like, you're an adult. Make your choice. This is a preppers group, so everybody here is going to be thinking or saying this stuff with or without me. Am I wrong? Are you guys saying the same things? Are you guys thinking the way you do because I'm telling you how to think? Or is this you came here because that is how you think and that is what you have been saying? It makes a whole lot more sense that you found me out, that you searched me out because you relate to me and what I am saying, compared to, I just got now I'm suddenly converting you guys to fearmongers or something. That doesn't make any sense. We believe in this. If you don't, you don't go to the chess club. If you think chess club is for nerds, then don't hang out in chess club. You get what I'm saying? It may not be the stream for you. Forever Black, thank you so much. Again, lots of new people have subscribed. Pangean, thank you for subscribing. Renaissance Collectibles, thank you so much for subscribing. Jerry Shirts says, doing business with a communist country goes against my core, let alone having them open up in this country. Let's see DeSantis let them in Florida. They might, I would actually be surprised if they were able to open up there. And then Darlene Rudnick, thank you so much for subscribing. Marley, thank you so much. I appreciate your subscription. Thank you. And thank you for the super chat. Meat Puppet 007. Let's see here. Last super chat had a typo. Shout out to the mods. Don't worry about that, 007. The mods got you. And then back from my extended break, rough end to summer and start to fall, but hey, it's just the beginning. Hi, everyone. Lots of newbies I see. God bless all. Bible Talk 777. Hey, nice to see you, and it's been a while. Germany flatly rejects Vlad's offer to renew energy exports and says, nice try. Germany flatly rejected an offer from Russian President Vladimir to renew exports of natural gas through the Stream 2 pipeline, and it said that Vlad's offer comes as Vlad is limiting exports of oil and gas to Europe in response to weighty sanctions from NATO countries over the invasion of UKR. Germany pointed to Vlad's limiting of natural gas supplies through the Stream 1 pipeline in its response, saying that Vlad is not a reliable supplier. Quote, nice try, government spokesperson Christian Hoffman said, told reporters of Putin's offers. Independently of the possible sabotage of the two pipelines, we have seen that Vlad is no longer a reliable energy supplier, and that even before the damage to the Stream 1, there was no longer any gas flowing. So funny, because now everybody's going to be like, oh, well, we really need to triple up on this, on the electric, green solutions to this. So now, of course, wind turbines and everything else that they're going to be switching to, right? So whatever companies build those, I'm sure they're going to make out like bandits. Dex, do you have an opinion on this?
Yeah, I'm still waiting to see who's responsible for it. Right, that's going to be telling when they come out with the actual evidence. And I don't know how much, that'll have a big grain of salt on it as well. But let's say, it's just kind of enlightening, though, that as important as it was to get this, that they're not willing to take it again. Obviously, that there's a motive there.
Yeah, we'll see how it plays out, and we'll follow it. Make sure to subscribe. And then also, we are also streaming we are multicasting, not only here, but of course, global partner on DLive, and we are on Rumble. So make sure wherever you may be watching from, thank you so much. Russia's Putin's hails ties as he meets UAE president. Dex, do you want to cover this one? This is also going to play into the bigger picture.
Well, as we were speaking about OPEC and what they had done, what they did was they kept the prices low in Europe. They reduced production against our wishes, and they were sort of siding with Vlad to reduce the production, because we wanted them to increase it. And so now what we're in, UAE is one of the big parts of the OPEC. So now what we're seeing is this meeting between Vlad and the UAE president, and then he's speaking very highly of him. He's basically making it out like, yes, look, we're great partners. So thank you for doing that, et cetera. So, it's kind of interesting to look at how maybe some of these Middle East dynamics are shifting. Because we've always sort of, at least with Saud and with UAE, we've always had, a really, really good or influential, I should say, I don't know how good it is, but influential relationship where, we provided a lot for them and they pretty much, did what we wanted. So I don't know if the tides have changed now. It's kind of looking that way.
You know, I don't know why I got this random thought about the previous story, but do you remember, well, you weren't there for it, but for Pearl Harbor, Japan set up kind of a little station in Hawaii, and there was a gentleman who was actually really key that spied on the harbor. And he did so many crazy things. In fact, now throughout history, we have all of these stories about this gentleman who was actually a really big part of the event at Pearl. And he even did things like swam around the boats with a snorkel and snorkeled around and would go night and day and take pictures and basically posed as a tourist and just, had a corny, Hawaiian shirt on with a camera around his neck and a map in his back pocket. And he would just pretend, oh, this is so pretty. Well, he was actually spying. I just wonder, I really do want to check up if they say that Xi has opened up 30 locations, they've opened up way more than 30, but in 30 countries. Just so happens the same amount of NATO members. I wonder how closely those light up, and then are those offices close to military locations? I also want to point out this should be a good question to ask because also Congress has asked about how Xi's country has been buying up farmland, and that farmland just happens to line up right next to some of our major military installations. If they were foreseeing a conflict in the future, it seems kind of common sense that they would possibly set up some folks to maybe get information or take information. What if those people that are helping with documentations are actually people that are going out into the wild, getting information and then coming back? Just a curious question. I don't know. I think we should be allowed to just ponder that question, right? But just thought of that randomly, and pretty insane stuff going on. All right, and then we're only going to mention Elon quick because this one is pretty important. I do want to remind you, if you haven't already, go over to marfooglenews.com/prep. If you want 25-year shelf life food and you just want it done and, of course, packaged into Mylar bags and into buckets that you can bury, put in your basement, put wherever you need them, store them, put them underground, doesn't matter. Again, you can go over to marfooglenews.com/prep. Again, that's marfooglenews.com/prep. They also have other things, really great things like, of course, the Alexa Pure Pro, a gravity-fed water filtration system. Not only will you get a discount on the 3-month kit, there's actually 20% off right now, which is a huge discount. You can also get iodide tablets there. You can get all sorts of goodies. So go over to marfooglenews.com/prep to get discounts and to help our channel. Dex, I am so kind of over the whole Elon Musk thing. So if you want to cover this, I would love to hear your opinion on it.
Well, everywhere that they've needed Starlink to sort of swoop in and save the day, he's been there. But apparently he's rejecting UKR's plea to put Starlink coverage in Crimea. And he's doing it because there's obviously fears about, what may happen with Vlad over that type of action. I know a lot of in the previous months, a lot has been said about his technology and was it being used for military purposes, and were they able to get an advantage because they had that network available. So I don't know. It's kind of interesting that he's taken this position as opposed to just falling in line with what the West or NATO is asking for. Although it's not technically the West or NATO that's asking for it, it's UKR that's asking. So, take it for what it's worth. I think, we have also recently reported on how private satellites have become the target now in these types of conflicts. So, maybe he's also thinking about, maybe I've invested enough and I don't want to put more of my assets on the line if they may be, wiped out or taken out from something with, as the conflict escalates.
Yeah, it seems strange to me that this is where he draws the line. He's pretty much said that he'll do this a whole range of different places, including, didn't he say he would do Cuba, or did he end up helping Cuba? I don't think that was. I'm thinking of Operation Starfall and what
it was the I country that he helped out.
Yes, that's right. So I mean, that's I would say that's up there. But apparently he reportedly repeatedly rejected requests from UKR to switch on his satellite internet service over Vlad-occupied Crimea. By the way, Stephen McMahon, thank you. I just want to point out, I think I've noticed something lately. I know a lot of people say the same thing. They say, Stephen McMahon said, came across Adam years ago when surfing. He was in car then. I said to myself, he will get as big as Rogan, Sherman effect. So one thing, Stephen McMahon, I actually, a couple of people have said it like I wonder if people think I lived in my car. Just so you know, I was always wearing a suit and tie because I was working in the banking industry, and I would literally do videos every single break I got. And this channel is actually the reason why they offered me a demotion to minimum wage, to basically a cleanup position from, a really great position, or to resign because my views did not align with the company's. So yeah, that you guys probably remember that video. I was pretty torn up and crying, and it was a bad day. But it ended up a lot of people related to that video, and a lot of people actually sent love. And I mean, like, I've never had so many people message me. That weekend, I think I got like 25,000 emails in 3 days or something. It was some crazy amount. It was like 4,000 in one day, and then 8,000 the next. And it didn't even go that viral. I think it got, comparatively, we've had million view videos and stuff. It was like 50,000 or something, but it was like every person who did it ended up reaching out. So I love you guys. You guys have had my back for a very long time, and I thank you for that. Yeah. So, and I worked 13-hour days. So that's why I kind of don't, when I see people that don't put any effort into their channel and they just expect it to work, I'm like, well, I was doing it on top of a full-time job and doing it every little. If they say I don't have time to do that or time to research into it, I'm like, I was literally doing it while I was doing 13-hour, 14-hour days. And I missed my 7-year-old. I missed a whole lot of her baby days because I was just gone from 7 a.m. to 1 a.m. sometimes. Jerry Shirts, doing business again. Thank you, Jerry. And I did miss you, Stephen Hicks. Thank you. Texas Earth Watcher. Thank you. I appreciate that. And everybody over on D Live. Thank you. Tons of great people over there. Vicky K. Thank you. Kimbria. Appreciate you as well. And of course, thank you, Vicky K, for the Diamond. Badger, thank you for gifting out badges. The Marfia badge. And then Respiratory Jane, Scooby-Doo Right, Michelle K, Bear Claws, and Beer Juice. Thank you. Chance, thank you for modding over there. And I'm assuming Jammer is in there as well. Thank you guys for running it over there. And it says that Vlad's country photoshops a UKR passport for new fake about Crimean Bridge T attack. So this, Dex, now is there any update on this? I heard some folks on Twitter.
No, yeah, this is pretty clear. There's two pictures in here. You can see them. One comes from a Wikipedia, which shows an example of what a UKR passport or ID card looks like, and you can see the one that's been posted now with a little bit of darkening on it and some stain from potentially the person's blood and whatnot. It's the exact same number. It's like everything on this card outside of the name and birth date and the typical things. But look at like the drivers, the ID number is identical. The signature on the very bottom, it's identical. So they're saying that they're making the claim that whoever forged this actually just took the card off of the Wikipedia where the original source was, and that's how they made this ID card.
And what did they use? What was their claim about the nasty one?
Well, they're saying that's the person, or that was found at the bridge, and that was probably the person that did it.
Oh, so they're blaming it on potentially just a fake person whose last name is Seaman. Well, so did the nasty one that they have a picture of supposedly did this picture, they're saying they found it at the bridge site and that this is the person responsible for that event.
And they're not even showing the card's not physically there. It's just a picture of the card, and the card is the same card that is, on the Wikipedia, and it's a UKR. So they're basically, the theory here is that they're trying to frame it as a UKR national, right? So that's sort of the point. And of course, by the way, take this with a little bit of a grain of salt, because this is coming out of UKR. They're saying, hey, we didn't do this, or, look, this is a fake, this evidence that they're using to say it was us is fake. It came from a Wikipedia file.
Well, and you can also see like the RFID in the corner is all, I mean, it's, but did Vlad put this out on his official, media? Did they show this and say, we found this? Or is UKR saying that they're claiming to them privately that they found this? Because this is obviously a Photoshop thing. They just, subtracted the woman, put the guy in, and then put some, stains on there. Kind of reminds me of a previous day back in 2001. Huh. Why would it be intact, too? If there was a huge, I don't know. And then Vlad's blunder means Moscow is running out of ammunition, says UK spy chief. So there's a ton of stories basically saying that they're failing, and they're all coming out of the other side. That's the only thing, we don't actually know if they're running out of ammunition or anything like that. We do know that they have turned multiple factories into factories that are producing, wartime products. There were, factories that were probably making cotton swabs before the conflict, which are now by the government saying, hey, you are making this. They mobilized industries to make things like, I'm assuming, ammunition, right? Dex, do we know if there's any... how do they validate something like this? It doesn't seem like they would.
Well, we certainly have intelligence that does its best to try to keep track of the amount of, say, important things like cruise missiles and stuff like that. So, and then of course they know how many are used. They can see how many. They can see how many moved into the region. They can see how many were used. They can keep track of that. And I think that's part of what they're talking about here. Is, ammunition may be assumed, but at the same time, let's not kid ourselves. Vlad's country makes a ton of ammo, and we used to buy it here quite a bit. But when it comes to some of the more heavier stuff like cruise missiles and other things, those do come with a big cost. So, and it does take time to build. So if they're depleting their resources and depleting their stockpiles of it, then that could be a problem. And that's what this spy chief and obviously the people that are in this case, the UK, is saying. So, the intelligence is making that report.
A place like Russia could have a place like NK making stuff that, nobody is tracking. Same with G. G could have stuff being made in NK. NK does a lot of like backdoor stuff. As far as like our companies, like Raytheon, at one point we covered a story that was from a Marfoogle family member that said that essentially they were producing a missile every minute and 30 seconds, and then it came out. They actually said that they were producing so many missiles. This was a couple years ago. This is before any of the conflicts and the Afghanistan stuff was wind down to like 4,000 people or 2,000. It was like, why are we making all of these missiles, right? And at that point, Raytheon had the parking lot. The big rigs that would take them in, they couldn't even get into the parking lot because the parking lot had all of these huge missiles piling up in the parking lot. About a week or 4 or 5 days after that caller called in and said, Raytheon's going crazy, there ended up being a mainstream media article that confirmed it, that they were making missiles every minute and 30 seconds. So I just wonder, where did they get the numbers of how much ammo they have? Couldn't they have done it secretly? Can't they make it under, behind closed doors and under cover? So I just wonder about this and how did this is a UK spy chief. Maybe they, and you never know if the information that intelligence agency is getting is purposely told to them so they think that, when in reality, or they know that the person's a spy or something and purposely tell them false information. I don't know. Anything can be Ganda at this point. We're in conflict time, and this is a conflict that may, it's just a kind of one event away from bringing in the whole world. We're kind of in the same place that we were for WW2 before the U.S. and everybody else jumped in. Army base still searching for a machine gun that went missing days ago. We've actually covered too many of these stories to really feel good about what's going on. We've covered, missing. I think we even covered a missing tank, a missing plane. Missing warheads, things like this. It's like, how does something like this go missing? It says an Army base in Washington State, right here, spent part of the long holiday weekend searching for a missing part to a .50 caliber machine gun, the latest incident after the service was criticized for lost weapons. Soldiers with Joint Base Lewis McCord's 1-2 Striker Brigade combat team, or Ghost Brigade, had their 4-day weekend cut short on Friday for what soldiers lamented as a classic Army debacle involving the missing piece of equipment. A firestorm of rumors of what one soldier described as an all-out-of-season Easter egg hunt. The receiver assembly of an M2 .50 caliber machine gun went missing from 2nd Battalion, 3rd Infantry Regiment staff duty area and triggered an all-hands-on search that most of the rank and file lasted a little over 12 hours. But it resulted in an Army investigation that is still ongoing, ongoing Monday. The receiver assembly is essentially useless on its own, but it had not been found. According to the 7th Infantry Division, it says that a judge advocate recommendation for a search of the base indicated the weapon component had been stolen. So think about what now. It's harder to steal the whole unit all at once, but if somebody is trying to actively steal the parts, many of you know that a lot of people go through loopholes. They won't go into a bang bang shop and go buy one. What they'll do is, even people that can't buy one legally, they will be able to locate different parts and then put it together. In fact, they can locate most of the parts, and if not, they can even 3D print some of them and make a fully functioning bang bang out of nothing. In fact, Shinzo Abe, his life was taken, the former Prime Minister of Japan, was taken by a guy who made a homemade shoddy and took his life that way. So something like this, can you imagine if something like there was a Vegas event, but they had something like this? That's a scary thought. That's why people worry when something like this goes missing. Some would go, "Oh, well, it's just a part of it. Who cares?" If they locate the other parts in other ways, that part may be the only one that they can't get, and once they get it, they can use something like that, say on a crowd or on an event, post up on a roof and just, basically decimate. Dex, do you think that's what the big worry about this is?
Well, yeah, certainly that's one of the worries. I think, the other one is, the Army doesn't like any of their stuff to be taken, and they don't want it to not be accounted for, and they definitely don't want it to be stolen, because they want to know who's doing it, how did it happen, what kind of security breach did they have, right? Because if it's this, then what else is it?
Well, yeah, it could get in the hands of a cartel member or something. It could be used down in Mexico in some sort of Guadalajara, battle. Just recently, there was video. There was basically an all-out shootout at the Guadalajara Mall. That's crazy video that just came out. I don't know if that's an old event and it just went viral, but man, that's crazy scenes. And it looks just like a regular mall, and there's cartel or whoever that was fighting back and forth. Go ahead, Dex.
Hey, I was going to say we need to rewind. There's been a handful of comments that are really insightful. If we can jump back to the license or the passport photo that was allegedly doctored, and compare it to Sam Hyde, the American comedian. Are you kidding? So not only that, did this news agency that reported this, but whoever produced it, it looks like they used Sam Hyde as the face.
Oh, you are kidding. Oh,
and I went and looked, and it does look like him.
No, it is. Oh, my gosh. If you don't know about the whole Sam Hyde thing, then I don't think this came out of Vlad's country. That's why I said, this is a joke. This has to be a joke.
It's reported on Yahoo News, and it's coming from Ukrainska Pravda, which is UKR's news. So it's a UKR news outlet that did this.
They are going to look so stupid when they realize. Has anybody realized yet? I don't think anybody's realized. That is Sam. Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh. There's got to be an update like that they realize that this will make them look really bad. He's been used for major events like what we were just talking about with that stolen part. Let's see here. Oh, man. They've used him for previous events, right? And it went big in the news because somebody online said, oh, it's this guy that did it, and then convinced a bunch of people that this person did it, right? This is him. And there's actually a picture. Okay, that's an aged one. Oh, my gosh. That is him. There's no doubt about it. In fact, there's a more recent photo of him where he's bigger, and that's him. There's no doubt about it.
So I'm guessing someone trolled this, but it made it into into I guess what you would call it, the mainstream news, right? If it hit the major outlets, it worked its way through. All the way over here, right?
I think somebody in our audience may have just, probably said something that will end up being a huge deal. Look at it.
Yeah, it's. I'm finding more on it now.
Look at that.
A lot of other agencies were reporting it, and they're all getting laughed at. Like Sam Hyde used in this photo, and European news has been reporting it. Oh,
you are kidding. That is epic. Oh, and he keeps getting in the news because people keep using his image. He had an MTV show, I think it was MTV, for one season, and then his comedy was so basically it was so on one side of the aisle that they canceled him, and he still does stuff. I don't know how they just did that. It makes a whole lot of sense that the picture came from Wikipedia. Somebody just trolled the world's news, and they're going to make somebody look like a real dummy.
That's funny. Hey, just a quick shout out, Jacob M. and a handful of others, but Jacob M. and You're Not Alone were the ones that brought that to our attention with supers.
Oh my gosh, look at that. Oh my God. It's not funny, but it is. Oh man. Good catch. That is, there's no mistaking. And I kept saying, I'm like, why does that look familiar? I just kept looking at it what did they use this dude for? That's why I said, did this come from Vlad? Just nuts. All right. And then if you value the power that is powering your computer to watch me or to charge your devices, highly recommend going over to Energy. If you want to get into having your own generator and being able to be reliant and self-sufficient, then I highly recommend getting a solar generator. A gas-powered generator, again, if you have, is great. But the downside of gas-powered generators is they are extremely loud. If anything were to happen, if an SHTF situation happened, or even a major disaster, you do not want people from 3 blocks away knowing that you are the only one with power. People get desperate, people loot, people go all out, and they will try to steal something like that. With this, it's absolutely silent. Again, all of our gear, everything here is run on an Energy Flex 1500. Again, it's a great system, and one of the greatest parts is it's modular. So just like Legos, they actually stack, and you can expand it up to 96 batteries. This same unit, again, is also modular in the way that you can add different kinds of attachments and sandwich them in between the battery and the head unit. There is a supercharger unit that can actually triple the amount of input. So, for instance, if you have just the head unit and a battery, you can put the supercharger in there, and instead of 4 panels, you can actually triple that to 12, therefore cutting your charge time in a third. So if you have, say, an hour and a half of sun a day, or in a place where there's not too much sun, you can actually charge your battery extremely quick. So go over to marfooglenews.com/energy with an I, I-N-E-R-G-Y. Not only will you save upwards of $170 off on certain packages, but you can also support our channel at the same time. This one, again, I don't think there's a single creator that we know that has said anything negative about this, as far as this is one of the best systems out there. It's one of the most coveted. There's a waiting list. So if you do want something like this, especially if it's coming up to winter and if you may have a storm, an earthquake, a tornado, a hurricane, any kind of smaller event, this is extremely useful because we are completely dependent on electricity and we have no control over it unless you have something like this. All right, that's marfooglenews.com/energy. All right. And then AJ must pay Sandy Hook families $965 million in second trial. Dex, is this set in stone, or can he appeal this?
That's the what came out of it.
He's done.
So there may be more too. You know, this is the second round. The first round was something like 40 something million, so now it's almost $1 billion. It's basically $1 billion between the two.
He's not a billionaire, right? I mean, he's not even close.
I don't know. I don't think so.
This is like
that's a lot.
This is like Amber Heard. He's going to go negative. He's not. He's done. How is he? He's going to be on a cell phone on YouTube, or he can't even be on YouTube. He's going to be on a cell phone on a janky website. This is, how did they do that much of an amount when there are legitimate, all sorts of cases I've seen where it's legitimate and they won't award that kind of that money. How many families? Was it 16 or something? What? They're basically dispersing all of his money through all of the people all of the families. Do you think that they're making an example of him? Do you think that's what they're doing?
It certainly is an example. It certainly is, and I think a lot of the information in that trial was pretty damning, so to speak, at least from the testimony and whatnot. I didn't watch it; I just saw headlines coming out of it. But it didn't look like it was much in his favor, and so I don't know what kind of precedence this creates for other. Media outlets, if you want. So I know some don't like to call him that. At least those that are in the mainstream don't think of him that way. But ultimately, independent media, whatever you want to call it, what kind of precedence does this set?
Well, how much money was he actually making? I didn't think he was doing that well in the first place. Even a $50 million settlement is huge. But
I saw an article out of India that said he was making something like $6 billion a month.
That's out of India. The same India that
was a joke.
Says YouTubers that we have $1 million net worths and stuff, when they're just basing it off of what, So yeah, I could see how that could be, but almost $1 billion. Watch somebody like Elon bail him out and just say, here's $1 billion. Get back to work or something. I don't think he would, but can you think about that? Like Elon could bail him out and still have, $290 billion. But since he doesn't, since there is nobody that's going to bail him out, does that end him? You would think it would, unless he can find loopholes on how to keep going. That's wow.
So a economist who testified for the other side, the side of the parents, estimated his net worth, and this is for the trial, to be between 135 and 270 million.
Wow. So I'm actually surprised he was worth that much.
Yeah, and you got to think that's going to be inflated, or at least the high side, because that's coming from the opposition, so to speak, and they're doing it for trial, so they're going to make it as big as possible.
Yeah. Well, does that settlement seem right to you? Just tell me if you think that is right or wrong in the chat. Scooby-Doo right? Yeah, nobody with an opinion like him is going to be a rich person, right? Emma B, what's going on? Nope, he's going to appeal it. Yeah, I don't see how they could keep something on like that. And I've never seen something like that. I've never seen. Is that going to make history? Has there ever been a lawsuit with that much of a payout? I don't think so. How many of you think that he is being made an example of, or this is to scare others from ever speaking out of line?
Well, and is this against him individually or his company? And so that's a good question to think about. Certainly there have been companies that have had huge, losses in the billions, right? But there's been stuff this big or bigger. But thinking about an individual, if this is individually him, his name, not his company, then yeah, that's kind of big for an individual.
Well, either way, basically he said words, and those words have now supposedly turned into a $965 million settlement. It's pretty crazy. Bible Talk 777 says, Adam, I like how you've handled yourself lately, brother. Wish I could do that consistently. Well, thank you. Appreciate that. That really does mean a lot. Thank you. Charity Sullivan says 923 everywhere. Does anyone else see this? 923. No, I always see 1234 or 1234 on the clock. I always see 1111. That's 923. Oh, you mean the date maybe? The September 24th thing and the 23rd thing, that was kind of a internet thing. So you might be seeing the residuals from that, and that was just a mistake. Like many of the dates that are set out there on the internet. There are some real dates that we talked about. Dex, what are the real dates we just talked about? It's like in 2 weeks. In 3 days. The Bank of England yesterday said that these institutions have 3 days to sell all their stuff or something. That played in. They don't know what they actually mean by that, or there's guesses and debates. And that was yesterday. So what, the 14th or 15th?
Certainly. And then there's always the October surprise if we haven't had it already. So something's bound. And then, of course, that first Tuesday in November that's coming up.
Yep. So we'll see what's going on. And again, we will keep you guys updated. Shane Shannon, thank you for subscribing. Dank Bear, thank you for subscribing. You are not alone. Says that ID pic is Sam Hyde. Look up his face. Sam, you are not alone. Absolutely correct. Yeah. Jacob M says you are being trolled. That's a pic of Sam Hyde, and I agree. And I think everybody else got trolled too. I wouldn't have put that together, and I watched a ton of stuff on how he crashed and burned because of the whole culture and everything else, and totally disagree with it. Barbie's Rule, thank you for subscribing. Stephen Hickman, thank you for subscribing. Bedicus Magnus, thank you for subscribing. Stephen McMahon, again, thank you. Forever Black, thank you for subscribing. All sorts of new people here. Lisa Douglas, thank you for your support. Tonight, I believe you are the top supporter. And again, Lisa, I thank you. B-Dub, thank you for subscribing. All sorts of, I don't know if I'm getting rated or something, but thank you for all the new people. Dex, let's go over the web only. Lots of stuff here.
Yeah, don't go anywhere. There's much more to talk about. So if you go over to marfooglenews.com and you click on the thumbnail for the show and scroll down to that yellow box that says overflow, on a Rumble or on YouTube, open that description and click on the first link. It's called show notes. It'll take you right here. So this is where you're going to get the rest of the story. So things like the panic in the markets, as Adam was referring to in the UK earlier, when we talked about that 3-day outlook to resolve those pensions. But does that mean there's something bigger happening? Well, Liz Truss is they're saying she's in panic mode, trying to stop their economics from plunging, which they continue to do. That's been going on for weeks now. And it doesn't look like there's any end in sight other than maybe a zero, which would be the bottom. We've got more updates on what's been going on with Vlad and the UKR. So additional content that we didn't get to cover here, that's in here. If you haven't seen that, what's happening in the political side, again, we cover all angles. T-Man's in there. I think we've covered some of the negative stuff against Herschel and others. Tulsi's in the news, specifically around what's going on with her leaving the party, and a lot of even an update on Kanye as well. As we get out of the politics, we move on. There's a lot of other stuff. We got some Joe Rogan actually interviewing the ghost of Steve Jobs. He did that as an AI engineered podcast. It's kind of interesting. If you didn't see that, you might want to check it out. And some are saying that there's monkeys that may be evolving into human-like races. So that's kind of an interesting scientific sort of view on what may be happening with certain species of monkeys. So that and so much more. I mean, there's a lot more on there. I didn't only scratch the surface. So
right
you want to jump on
any
of these, Adam, feel free. But
monkeys,
you're missing a lot.
Monkeys right next to Joe Rogan it reminds me of Joe Rogan talking about the clip of a monkey who is riding a miniature motorcycle, and it's not like a circus or anything. Somehow the monkey got a hold of a miniature motorcycle, drove into I believe it's an Indian city, and tried to snatch a baby. It's a real clip, and it tries to take the baby, and we have covered in the last few months, there was this huge story. Remember when the monkeys were trying to take kids, and they were mad because one of their monkey, what it was is a dog. A dog ate one of the monkey's babies, right? And the monkeys all together, it's like they were all on the same page. They started a conflict with the dogs, and they were going down and taking the dogs up to the roof and throwing them off. I mean, like, this is nuts. And now, you're seeing these stories. I guess monkeys in some places are becoming the most dangerous animal in history. Thousands of them running through the streets, and if you're a kid out in the middle of the street, you're getting taken. So really crazy stuff going on with our world. I mean, I believe it's, we're in those times, the very end of them, in my opinion. But what's yours? Let me know in the comments down below. I'll be responding over the next hour to those comments. And thank you, everybody that supported the show. Lisa Douglas, thank you so much. Charity Sullivan, thank you. You are not alone. Jacob M. Of course, everybody else, thank you. All of the mods, make sure to go check them out on marfooglenews.com/friends. We have great stuff over there, great people. The top is all of the modulators. Bones, CJ Blaze, Gem, Jammer 1, Lisa R. Hall, PNW Affliction, aka Chance Paladin, Ripcrow Readiness, RJ Harris, Survival Game, does great shows on Saturdays. Trinity Red Pool, Blue Pill, Hi Ho, Kermit the Frog here. And, of course, Alaska Prepper and all of the other great friends of ours are down there, so make sure to check. And actually, Bible Talk 777, you are on that list. Don't know if you knew that. All right. Dex, thank you for your service tonight. I appreciate you.
Much love. Great job, brother.
In about 5 minutes from now, the show will be transferring over to Marfoogle Jams. So make sure to also subscribe there. The live chat will continue. If you want to hang out with Marfoogle fam members for a few more minutes, you can do so. Now is time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout-out. It's a shoutro. It's where I just make goofy music on the fly and say your names because you guys are what matters. Thanking you is literally, I would not be here without you. I'd still be living in my car in a suit and tie. Just kidding. I would be in. I would not be here without you. That's for sure.
The Marfoogle news and the Marfoogle. I got the Marfoogle news and the Marfoogle. I got the Marfoogle news and the only news I choose. Marfoogle. I got the Marfoogle news and the Marfoogle. I got the Marfoogle news and the Marfoogle. I got the Marfoogle news and the only news I choose. Marfoogle. I got the Marfoogle news and the Marfoogle. I got the Marfoogle news and the Marfoogle. I got the Marfoogle news and the only news I choose. Marfoogle. I got the Marfoogle news and the Marfoogle. I got the Marfoogle news and the Marfoogle. I got the Marfoogle.
Just to say hello to the live chat, thank you so many that have been here for so long. Rachel Queen, what is going on? Willie Wayne, Tammy Keller, Kappa Torto, The Major, B. Morris. B. Morris, no, actually we've had it for about a year. Marv Smuggaze, says Paul. Kathy Piana, hey, nice to see you, Kathy. It's very nice to have you here. Saw you the other day and I think you left too early for me to say goodbye. Lisa Douglas. We're going to make you a song here in just a second.
Only news I choose. Marfoogle. I got the Marfoogle news and the Marfoogle. I got the Marfoogle news and the Marfoogle. I got the Marfoogle news and the only news I choose. I got the wiggle, wiggle. I'm a wiggle, wiggle. Yeah, it's a bearer. Hold on a bearer. Everybody like a heart. You'll be no bearer. Text on the TW. Don't erase. Say my name. Everyone A. Angela A. And the day. Davidson. Missy on the Lego and the 10 to 97 and the Missy Lego and the blow to Barbie. A Jared Smith and everybody gonna go real hardy. Funk party, Island by the Sea and the Bear Claws, Uridale Yahoo and that Michael on Dudas. Everybody gonna hoo-ha. I'm about to bring it right back like a hoo-ha. Carry on the Schaefer and Anita Torres. Let's go into how everybody says. Willie Wayne, and thanks for the show. Love you, man. You are, yo.
I'm going to ask everybody for prayers. Dave and Laura have not been here. Dave just got a huge surgery today. It took him hours and hours. In fact, the last update I got is he's got a back surgery, and he took a very long time to get off of the meds that they put him under. And he was not doing well as of last update, but obviously it was a huge surgery. They opened up his back. They fixed a few of the spinal column pieces back there. And pray for Dave and Laura Reed. Appreciate it much. Everybody get in. Mary not dream. I got the Jane below and the truth up high. Mary Biles and the kid on lie. On my back around LW. Margaret Lake and the Mr. Stu. Linda McDaniel prays for a day. Everybody down to Morrissey. Hey, I'm back and making it rain. So rebel back and off on the dagger. Bring it back around and everybody had ya. And I need a Torres and Mr. Stagger. On back and now I say hey. for Lisa Douglas. Let's see. Let's go with this one.
Sweet love.